All right. So welcome class of 2024 and 2025 parents to our future planning night with Wayne Valley and our counseling department. I am Mr. Imperator and this is Mrs. Montana. We will be putting you through a brief PowerPoint presentation about the next steps of what you should be doing with your students as juniors and as sophomores for when they get to that college and post-graduation level. Afterwards, we'll do a quick Q&A where we'll let you into the Zoom meeting and have any questions that we can answer for you towards the end. So without further ado, let's get that PowerPoint rolling.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. We used to share screens all of the time, and I haven't done it in a while, so bear with me and just for a moment while I recall hopefully how to get back to my presentation here. I think this should work. There we go. Does it seem like you come up okay?
We're good.
All right, great. Okay, so I can't see the top quarter of my screen. I apologize. Just move this out of the way. So this is a link to our school counseling website. It's a Google site. We try to keep it as updated as possible with latest information. We're also very active on social media, so you can see our Twitter handle, Instagram, Facebook. We also have a YouTube page that can be found on the school counseling website. And the remind code is there for the class of 2024. This is a primary way that we're communicating with our students because we know that they see our messages come up on their phones. We also have a remind for class of 2025. I don't believe that is on this slide, but if anyone needs that, please reach out to your child's counselor. We are happy to provide you with that information. We also do send out a newsletter from the counseling department. The newsletter summarizes important information, upcoming events, contact information. So a lot of effort goes into keeping this up to date and making sure that we're sharing out everything that we possibly can. Okay, student meetings. So each year, the counselors meet with students individually to plan their schedules for the following school year. We just wrapped up that process for next year. And for those of you who are going to be seniors next year, we do meet with all of those students in September as well to review this college application process, but also have a one-on-one conversation with them about what their plans are. Are they planning to apply, early to colleges? What are they looking at next? In September, we will send out an email focusing on the key points that students and families should be aware of when it comes to preparing for college application process, deadlines, etc.
So transcripts. So this is a question that we get a lot from students about what their transcript is, what their GPAs are in progress for juniors and sophomores and freshmen. So the transcript will not be updated until the end of junior year, end of sophomore year, and end of freshman year. The only time the transcripts do get updated is midterms of their senior year and the final of senior year. The reason for this is because colleges do look for the midterm grades that we do send out. They also may look for quarterly grades. So the GPA is sent to the colleges. It's only from freshman year to the end of junior year. Only the courses with final grades are listed. So we do send out transcripts with current courses, but no grades for senior year. Initial transcript will include a list of senior year courses. As I said before, no grades. And colleges may ask for first quarter or interim grades. So for all the seniors or all the rising seniors, please watch out for senioritis because they do check in very competitive field. Planning for the SAT and ACT. So as the junior year comes rolling around, the SAT and the ACT is something that is very important. Some schools are taking the SATs back. All Florida schools are requiring the SAT scores for the applicants. That is something new this year that the governor of Florida has implemented. Some schools are trying to push back on that a little bit, but all Florida schools are requiring an SAT for the applications. If the student is responsible for registering online. So the SAT and the ACT is a separate entity from Wayne Valley. In order to sign up for the SAT and ACT, you have to go on the College Board website to make an account and to sign up for the SAT. On the ACT, you have to go to the ACT website and sign up for a test for the ACT. Both tests are offered multiple times and dates a year. Next year, Wayne Valley will be hosting the SAT on December 2nd, and we'll be hosting our first ever digital SAT on May 4th. So for planning purposes, for parents and for students, understand that we are offering it at Valley on December 2nd and offering it on May 4th. Majority of colleges will consider highest combined SAT score, which is called super scoring. So what you can do with your student is pick your top 2 or top 3 scores and send that to a college. Most colleges will use these SAT scores for scholarship purposes. For competitive like Rutgers or nursing fields, they will look at SATs for acceptances as well. Test prep and review options are free online resources, buying a review book, getting a tutor, doing prep classes, and anything that you can find under the sun there. Wayne Valley did host some SAT prep this year. We cannot promise that we'll be back next year. If it is, we will send it out to parents. But we did host some free SAT tutoring for math and for English this year through Wayne Valley. Score reports. I got the last one here. Score reports. It is a student's responsibility to send out score reports for the SAT and ACT. As I said before, Wayne Valley is a separate entity from the College Board. In order to send out your SAT and ACT scores, you have to log on to the collegeboard.org or act.org and send them directly from the College Board or from the ACT. On the bottom, we have 2 links to get to the College Board and to get to ACT. This is going to be shared with all of you on our website, and those are both hyperlinks that you can click on and send you right to the website.
3 years into these virtual presentations, I'm still not always sure when to unmute. So along with the process, we want to encourage students to develop an activity sheet or resume. We put the counselor will use this in writing your recommendation letter on this slide. That is true. There's another piece that's even more important that we use in order to write our recommendation letters for students. We'll get to that a little bit later. Some teachers will ask for a resume as well. They get to know your students very well in class, but they like to round out their letters a little bit, and they don't always know what activities students have participated in as far as sports or things that they've done outside of school. So it's always a good idea to encourage rising juniors especially and seniors to have that one-page skills or accomplishment-based resume. It can include the advanced courses that they've taken, clubs, any academic honors that they might have received, volunteer hours, work experience. All of that is great to include. Okay, so moving on to the college essay, we want you to remember that this is the personal piece to the application. It stands in that category alongside the letters of recommendation. When we consider how many students are applying to colleges, there are thousands probably of students with the exact same GPA, the exact same test scores, a really similar academic profile. So what sets the student apart in that process? What is helping the admissions reps to make those decisions? And it's the recommendation letters and the essay. So the essay should be a written picture of who you are. We want to encourage students to write their own ideas, be creative, open, and honest. We've had admissions reps say to us in the past that, if the prompt was tell us about someone who was really meaningful in your life and they've read students' essays about their grandparents. And at the end of the essay, the rep said, I know a ton about this person's grandfather, but nothing about the student. So we want to encourage students that if that's the direction they're going for their essay, to bring the focus back to how the important person influenced them, how they might have affected their worldview, the meaning that the person had to the student. So just making sure to keep it student focused. Make sure to answer the question that is asked. If any application says that the essay is optional, you should write it. Encourage your students to write it, because that is another way that they can set themselves apart from the pack, because there will be plenty of students who choose not to pursue those optional things. It's always a good idea to have multiple people read over the essay. This could be a tutor, a parent, an English teacher, someone else who knows the student well, and who also ideally is a good writer, and is able to proofread for spelling, grammar, making sure that the focus is on track. And students can start brainstorming their essay topics over the summer so that they are not overwhelmed by this when they return in the fall. So for visiting colleges, this is an important piece in the research process. We had our college panel last week. And one of the ideas that the reps kept coming back to was this idea that getting ready for college is really a research process. It's important to find as much information as you can. So we encourage you to go to the college's websites, call the admissions offices and find out about their info sessions, campus tours, anytime that students are able to visit the campus in person and kind of get a sense of what it feels like to be there. Some students can also have the opportunity to shadow a student for a day, so that is worth asking for if that's a possibility. Every time you visit a campus, make sure that you're signing in with their admissions office. If you're taking the time to go there and visit their campus, we want to make sure that you get credit for that effort that you're putting in. Through the admissions review process, there is a factor for some schools. It's called demonstrated interest. They're looking back to see, have you made contact with the college? Have you been in touch with the rep? Have you visited campus? This is one way to show that demonstrated interest. And it is helpful as you begin that process to take notes, maybe make a spreadsheet, some kind of comparison, things that stood out about the campus, just for your own reference, your own information, and stay in contact with any representatives that you meet on your campus tours.
Take the last one, Jen. Go ahead. Might as well just finish off with college.
All right. College rep visits are my project. So this is something that I set up each fall. We usually host between 40 and 50 college representatives at Wayne Valley. So these are really important because the representatives who come to our school are the reps for our area. What that means is the reps are broken out by geographic area and by state. So what this means is that the rep that's coming to Wayne Valley is going to be the first person to read your child's application when they submit it. So this is an excellent way to put a face with a name. They're usually giving QR codes or little cards for the students to fill out. It's a way to demonstrate their interest. So when the rep goes back and starts reviewing the applications, they're going to say, oh, this is a Wayne Valley student. I visited Wayne Valley. And they're going to look back and see which students took the time to come meet with them. Info on the visits and how to sign up for them will be on Naviance in the fall. There's also several local college fairs that are available. I think there's a big one at William Patterson in the fall. We, in March, I think, had a trip to the NACAC, which is another huge fair. I believe they have another one coming up in Manhattan shortly. So check that out. And then as we become aware of more of these, we will start putting them on our social media page.
All right, so now the Common App. So over 900 colleges have agreed to accept the Common application. It probably has grown a little bit more over the last year or two. You only have to fill out the Common App once. All right, then you send it to any of the schools that your child is applying to. It is a huge time saver. Make sure you check for the supplements that they're asking for in the Common App. If they ask for a 250-word essay, you have to submit that. If they ask for midterm and final grades, if they ask for first quarter grades, you have to submit that. All colleges will not look at a review until they have all the supplements in. The Common App is a great way to funnel all of the applications to one site, which then connects to Naviance, which is then where we send out our letters of recommendation, transcripts, school profile, and everything else that they want. We recommend using the Common App even if the school supplies its own application. The reason for that is because we do not know if your child has applied to a school, if it's initially right to the institution. The Common App will show up on our side on Naviance with a list of schools that your child has applied to. And then from there, we blast out everything through Naviance, which is connected to the Common App. If your child is applying to a school directly, please have them contact us and be in connection with us and communication with us. As we told the kids in school, unfortunately, we do not get mind reading as a master's degree. So we need communication to understand where they are with the application and where they have applied. On the bottom of there is a hyperlink to the Common App in case you do not know where that is. So a little bit more information about the Common App. It does roll over on August 1st. So as we advise students, do not start the Common App the end of junior year or the summer of junior year. Start it August 2nd. If you want a head start on the Common App, start it August 2nd. If you start it before August 1st and you log back into your account, everything will be erased and you have to start over with the Common App. On there, on our slides here, we have 2 prompts, the 2022 and 2023 essay prompts, and we also just updated the 2023 and 2024 essay prompts. So if you want to leg up and get a heads up of what's coming down, you can click on those hyperlinks and it'll give you an idea of what the Common App essays for this year and from last year were for your student. SSAR and SRAR. These are self-reporting sites, all right? There's a lot of schools that are starting to do self-reporting. Self-reporting does take a lot of time. The Common App will take you about a half hour. Self-reporting probably takes about 45 minutes to an hour. We have students come down to our office and we'll sit them down at our table and we'll have them go through the SRAR or SSAR with us. And it takes about a whole period or a whole lunch block to go through it. The student must put in all their grades, their courses from freshman year up until senior year, and they'll put in progress for senior year. The student reports that to the school directly. That has nothing to do with the counselors, it is right from the student. Please research any schools if you're interested in applying for self-reporting schools. Almost every school in Florida is an SRAR. So the SRAR and the SSAR are 2 different types of applications, but they are also the same. Rutgers University, Penn State, University of Delaware, Penn University, all of them are SSAR or SRAR schools. On that hyperlink down there, there is an article with a few of the schools that are listed, but understand for the application that it might be a self-reporting school. So just please review the list of schools that may take the SSAR and the SRAR.
Okay, so moving on to letters of recommendation. For our rising seniors, we always recommend that in the spring of their junior year that they start to think about who they're going to ask for a recommendation letter, and we recommend that they ask before the end of the year. Teachers can get very backed up with recommendation letters. They're usually happy to write them. Some teachers will start the school year with 50 to 60, sometimes even more requests from students for a letter of recommendation. So we want to be sure that students are giving them the courtesy of time and preparation and asking them in advance if they're willing to write a recommendation. I've never heard a teacher say no yet. So the answer will be yes. But we want to make sure that they're able to have the time to write a thoughtful letter and not something that they have to rush through at the last minute for a deadline. So 2 letters of recommendation are encouraged. At least one of them needs to be from a teacher. The other can be from a coach. It can be from an employer. For the purposes of Naviance, any Wayne Valley teacher, we can send their letters through Naviance. If it is a coach or employer that is not based at Wayne Valley, that is something that would be requested directly through the Common App itself. And the student would enter that coach or employer's email address, and Common App sends them a link that they can upload their letter directly. Part of that, and we'll get into a little bit more detail as the time gets closer, there's something called FERPA. It's the Educational Rights and Privacy Act. So as part of that, students have to waive their rights to view their recommendation letters. That is strongly encouraged that they do that. And so we can't have people just handing a recommendation letter to the student because it would open the opportunity for them to read it. We do want the students to ask teachers who know them well, again, thinking back to how this is a personal piece of the application, what sets them apart from the other students. A teacher who knows them well, that they've built a good relationship with, will be able to supply that information in the letter. Okay, so different types of college admission. I won't read them to you, but we'll start with early decision. Early decision is binding. This is always one to take note of, because we want to make sure that only the students that this is appropriate for might be applying early decision. So early decision might be right for your student if they know exactly where they want to go to college. They've had their heart set on this for years and years, and they're not interested in anywhere else. They know it's a good fit for them. They're 100% on this school. If they apply early decision and they're accepted, congratulations, you're going to that school and you have 0 other options. It's a contract, you are bound once you are accepted. So again, early decision is certainly not for everyone. Early action, on the other hand, gives you similar benefits. You apply earlier, so you're taking action earlier. Deadlines tend to be in November or December for early action. Usually they're going to get their decisions by winter break or sometime in January, but you're not bound to anything, and you still have until the May 1st deadline to determine where you're going to go to school. Regular decision is kind of like the general admissions version of college applications. Deadlines are typically mid to late January. And for rolling admissions, this means that the college will admit until their program is full. So you can apply in February, you can apply in October, you can apply in April. They will continue to accept applications. The only word of caution here is that if, say, your student is applying to marketing, that happens to be a popular major that year, and the student is late with their applications, maybe they're not applying until April or May, marketing could have been filled back in March, right? So we want to be sure to realize that earlier typically is better. There's often more financial aid available with earlier applications before all of that money gets used up later in the year. So just a few things to keep in mind. Academic categories, we want students to think about target, reach, and safety schools. A target is where you meet or are pretty much on par with their published GPA average and test score average. A reach school would be where you are falling underneath those published averages, and a safety school is where your GPA or test scores exceeds what that college's average is. We recommend that students apply to an average of 5 to 8 schools. They can apply to however many they want. It does get expensive with application fees, and ultimately you can only pick one anyway. Safety schools typically give the most money. They will want to try to lure your student away from some other schools. If you have a really strong academic profile and your safety school accepts you, often they will offer a pretty decent financial aid package.
So starting the research for colleges. So think about the futures in a school you're looking for. So as we tell the kids, don't go just because of the name. So don't go because it is Rutgers University or Penn State University. Go for the school that is the best for your major or for their major, the school that has the best connections to outside for when they do graduate. So think about the features such as location. Do they want to be close to home? Do they want to travel to Florida? Do they want to travel to California? Do they want to be 2 hours away? Do they want to be 10 hours away? Do they want to be a flight away? Do they want to be a drive away? Know the size of the school. So again, a big campus like Rutgers or a smaller campus like Kean University, or even smaller campus like Montclair State University. So understand the size. With size, not just of the campus and undergraduates, know the size of the classroom. So know the size of the teacher to student ratio, and how many students are in the undergrad and in the master's program. The affiliation. So know what that school is affiliated with, all right? Know the connections it has. So again, if you're going into an internship, knowing the connections it has outside of the school, not just inside the school. Know if it's a public school or a private school. The cost of a public school may be more than a private school. Typically, the private schools are a little bit more expensive, just because they can do that. They're not a public school, but know the difference between private and public. And finally, the cost. At the end of the day, it's about money. It is a discussion that students do have with parents. It's a discussion that we have with students, that students have with us. College is not free. Unfortunately, at this point in life, college is not free. So know that cost is a factor when it comes to school. Students that go to PCCC or BCC first for 2 years to save some money to get their undergraduate stuff done, and then transfer to a bigger school, usually save a little bit of money. If you get a scholarship for a school, whether it's a full ride, half ride, or $2,000, know that you do have to pay that back, and cost is a huge factor for when deciding to a school. Compare your GPA and test scores to those of colleges you are considering. All right, so do they fit your criteria? When we open Naviance, we're going to dive a little bit more into how you can see where your student lies, as opposed to the last 10 or 15 years of records that we do have on file through Naviance with Wayne Valley. Start putting schools onto your colleges I'm thinking about list on Naviance. Again, when we pull up Naviance, we'll give you a more crash course about how you can find this on the tab. At the end of the year, we usually meet with juniors just to go over how Naviance works, make sure they have a Naviance login, which is a key point. If your student does not know a Naviance login, or if you as a parent do not have a Naviance login, contact your school counselors immediately so you can get a login and so you know what we're doing for next year for senior year. How do you know where to apply? So in the research program, you're going to focus on the strength of program. Again, we're not going to a school because it's Rutgers University or Penn State University or Maryland University, right? We want to go to the college that's right for us and the strength of the program. Look at graduation rate, all right? Look at how many years it takes for students to graduate. 4 years, 2 years, 6 years, 5 years, whatever it may be. Know the graduation rate of the college. Look for students that have accredited or schools that have accredited programs. Mostly all schools are accredited. There's still a few that may not have accredited programs. That's something that the counselor will go over with your student. And same with the admissions counselor will go over with your student when they get into their school. Again, cost of attendance, as we've said before. Rutgers University is about $383 per credit. Times that by 3 for each credit. That's about $1,200. It might be $950. It's expensive. For PCCC, it's about $123 per credit. So you're saving about half on a bill to help get through college. College is expensive and college does cost money. If you want to Google, you can Google best business programs in New Jersey, United States. That's a good way to kind of focus in on what you want to study and what schools are the best for each one of your studies. Financial aid. So financial aid is extremely important for our presentation today because financial aid is actually moving over to a new platform as of next year. So be on the lookout for our financial aid night, which is at the start of senior year. It's usually probably in September or October. But we do put a presentation on together with Mr. Paul for financial aid night. He goes over all the processes, what you have to submit, and how to submit it. It will be delayed for the 2024 and 2025 school year. So watch for it to open up in December of 2023. All right, it is going through a new process. They are switching over a lot of stuff. It is a much easier process from what we hear. So the wait is going to be worth it. Community scholarships will be offered to all seniors at the end of the year. Last month, us as counselors went into the English classrooms to explain what community scholarships were for students and how to apply. Community scholarships are only for Wayne Valley students. All right. They also have them over at Wayne Hills. So it's only for Wayne students. When we get to that point and we have the students submit, we as counselors go through a process of filtering which scholarships are appropriate for each student. As we tell the kids, every student can get money. Every student should apply for community scholarships. There's a lot of money in the Wayne Township to help these students with financials for college. Please check the colleges tab as well on Naviance for a list of scholarships that is listed on there. We also have on our website on the side scholarship opportunities with different websites in which you can look into outside of Naviance and outside of community scholarships.
Okay, so a few interesting current statistics that we wanted to share with you. This was echoed at the college panel last week too, that on average between 20 and 50% of applicants are applying undecided. That means that they are not declaring a major at the time of their application. There's roughly a 37% transfer rate. It is becoming more common than we've seen in the past for students to start at one school, often out of state, and at the end of their freshman year, sometimes even sophomore year, they're transferring back to a different school, usually in state, but that's not always the case. They could start in state and move out of state, but it is common for that to happen. We just wanted to share that transferring is a real option if your student finds that the place that they start is not necessarily exactly the right fit that they thought it would be. Between 33% and 80% of students will change majors at some point during college. On average, they're switching 3 times. Over the past couple of years, there has been an 89% increase in early action and early decision applications. So again, that's where that financial aid piece comes in. The schools will admit, it varies by school, different percentages of their incoming class in this early action, early decision window, if they offer it. So again, given these numbers, we do encourage students to apply early before the field gets really packed and their chances become much more competitive. And due to that, approximately 6 million documents are processed in Naviance in support of, on average, 1 million applications in that early action, early decision category. So some other options, because we want to provide information for all students. If they're looking for a vocational or trade school experience, there are other options available. Vocational schools will train students for a variety of skilled jobs. Many of them will also help students to identify job prospects upon their graduation. Sometimes they'll even help them to apply for jobs. And we will be hosting a field trip on May 31st to the Construction Industry Career Day for students that may be interested in specific trades. So you can look into alternatives like community colleges. As Mr. Imperator said, starting for the first year or two at a community college can be a huge financial saver. At least in the state of New Jersey, if you start at a community college and you transfer to a New Jersey state school, by law, that state school is required to accept every community college credit that you have earned. If you're transferring out of state, it's not a guarantee, but more than likely, those credits will be transferring with you. Tuition is often less than at private schools. Some businesses may also offer education programs through apprenticeships or on-the-job training. And we've also linked to the BLS.gov website, which is helpful for students when they're thinking about their career paths. It will give them information based on recent census data to understand the future of the job market in their chosen field. If it's expected to increase, they know their job prospects will probably be pretty good. If it's expected to shrink in the next 5 to 10 years, that's something that you want to know going in.
So the NCAA, so for any students that are interested in playing the sport at the next level for NCAA, if you're interested in playing a sport post high school, please have your student create an NCAA account. So we do host an NCAA panel night every year to go over the steps of how to sign up for the right account. There are 3 separate accounts that you can sign up for through the NCAA, whether it's Division 1 and 2 is a certain account, and Division 3 is another account. Division 1 and 2 schools, it does cost money for that specific account. For Division 3, it is a free account. All right. So this year we had about 6+ colleges from different sports and different divisions discuss what they look for in the recruitment process. We had coaches from Kane for lacrosse, soccer coaches, football, swim, and we look to expand that next year as we grow the NCAA awareness for our students. On the bottom, there's a little snapshot of the high school timeline. This is also shared on our website under under the counseling page. Grade 9 is when you should start planning. All right. So it's something you start thinking about, start having a discussion with your student athlete, what you want to do for the next 4 years, next 3 years, if they want to play. By grade 10, they should have registered with the NCAA Eligibility Center. If they are not registered with the NCAA Eligibility Center, they will not be eligible to compete at the next level. By grade 11, it comes SATs and ACTs to submit your ACTs and SATs. Between grade 10 and 11, if you have not registered, there is still time to do it. Grade 12, the biggest thing is to graduate. It's to graduate with at least a 2.3 GPA. Anything lower than a 2.3 GPA, and the student is not eligible to compete in the NCAA. If we get to grade 12 and you're still not registered, it is okay. There is still time to do it. As soon as senior year starts and your student athlete says, hey, I'm interested in playing a sport now, by all means, have them reach out to a counselor, get an NCAA clearinghouse or eligibility center login, and then we send out transcripts through us at Wayne Valley through our account. Naviance, we'll go through that at the end. Yep. So a little bit of overview for Naviance before we get our crash course in it. Naviance's Family Connection tool is a comprehensive online tool to assist students and parents with these following. So college research and planning, college application process, career planning and trades. So Naviance is not all about college and all about college and all about college. It also helps the student understand what the next steps are for career planning, for trade school. All right, if we do have an application on there that helps the student kind of look at what the best majors are for them in order to get to the career path they want to get to in the future. Naviance is one of the best skills that we do offer for students and for parents to help narrow down what the best college is or what the best career fit is for each student. So college planning through Naviance. So the Family Connection provides the following for us: the resume building tools. So Naviance will help your student build a resume and see what is the right thing to put on resumes. College search features, how to compare colleges, to track deadlines for applications, to see when college reps are coming to visit Wayne Valley. Electronic college tracking, produce scattergrams and graphs to help you see what the last 15 years or 20 years have brought from Wayne Valley to each school that you're interested in applying to. Resources such as the NCAA, the SAT, the ACT, financial aid, and scholarship opportunities. And then finally, email communication between yourself and the college. It is the best way to communicate with the college directly through Naviance, as they have an account and your student has an account.
All right, so a few things to be mindful of for sections to fill out on Naviance. This is mostly for the rising seniors who will be applying in the fall. We do require that they fill out the student college questionnaire, can be found in the About Me tab. We need this. The counselors write a recommendation letter for every student. And so over the course of 3 years, because we work with them the whole time that they're in high school, we get to know them pretty well too, but we don't know everything about them. So the student college questionnaire asks them questions such as, what is your most memorable experience? What was meaningful to you about high school? What is your career goal? Why did you choose this? What does it mean to you to be able to work in that field? Like if a situation arose that we're obviously still, coming out of COVID time, students were impacted by that. If there's something that happened to their academic progress throughout high school that they feel needs context, the counselor letter is a place where we can provide that context. So this is required, the student college questionnaire, in order for us to finalize our letters. There's also a parent brag survey. You can access that through your parent account. Again, if you don't have one, please let us know. We can create one for you. This is a place for you to share if there's anything that you think colleges should know about your child. Are there factors that impacted their academic progress? Are there achievements that they've reached that maybe they're not so willing to share on their own, but you think would be important to highlight in the counselor letter? This is where we can hear from you and have your input as well.
Ms. Montana, to kind of piggyback off what you said also
Yep,
for
go
that.
ahead.
So students understand and parents understand if a student's asking a teacher from freshman year to write a letter recommendation, the teachers also use that sheet to go off of it. I've had multiple teachers reach out to me and say, is there a resume for the student? Have they filled out the student questionnaire yet? Just to get a better idea and a refresher about what they've done in the last 2 or 3 years if the teacher did have them freshman year. So it's also for the teachers, not just so much for us, but for the teachers to kind of really hone in on what they've done and how they've grown as an individual.
Yeah, and just a quick follow-up in that direction. That's a good point with asking teachers from previous years. They have not, your student might have developed a good relationship with that teacher, which is excellent and is still valuable. If they're asking a teacher from freshman or sophomore year for a letter of recommendation, I usually recommend that their second letter be from a junior teacher because they're speaking to the most recent academic work. So we don't want to exclude the former teachers if they know your student well, if it was a great class, if it was really meaningful to your student, that can still be a really strong letter in their favor. But again, like Mr. Imperator said, they might need a little bit of a refresher before they sit down to write that letter. So how can you access Naviance? You can access it through the link that's hyperlinked here. All students are registered and have an account. Many of them, we create them freshman year. They log in for a thing or two sophomore year and they don't look at it again until senior year. So if they forgot their password, we understand, tell them to let us know, we'll reset it. Students can reset their login information anytime by letting us know. We want to make sure that your email is current and active and working in the My Profile section in Naviance because that is a primary way that we communicate. Okay. So I think I have to stop sharing. Come out of presentation. Believe it or not, I did try to prepare all this before we got started. So I'm going to log in. Naviance gives us the option for a demo account. So if I share my screen now, you should be able to see what it looks like when your student logs into Naviance. All right. Great. So just to revisit the student college questionnaire, they will find it under About Me, surveys from your school. The parent brag survey is in here too, and the student college questionnaire.
So as we told the students, this will take the student 5 to 10 minutes to fill out. Again, we at points may have to chase the student down in the school to finish this up and to fill it out. But it takes no longer than 10 minutes just to fill out a few bullet points to help, again, a teacher that may have not had your student in the last 2 or 3 years. And again, it's a good way to help us know what's happening outside of school with volunteer hours, work, or whatever else they're doing outside of school.
All right, so other important things that we wanted to show you especially for the sophomores and juniors, if they're still kind of on the fence about what they want to do, or if they have no idea, these are helpful tools to go through the different kinds of intelligences. They can learn what their strengths are. It helps them to see what career fields they might be naturally suited to. There is the careers tab, so they can explore different careers. They can compare them. They can find different work opportunities, explore the pathways for different fields. But really where you're going to spend most of your time as a senior is in the colleges tab. Again, if your student is not really sure where to begin, on the left, you can see the Supermatch College Search. This is a good place to start because it starts asking them some of those questions about geographic location, if they want the school to have a religious affiliation or not, if it's important for them to have Greek life, certain athletics or clubs. They're going to be able to plug in all of that information into the Supermatch, and it'll give them back a short list of schools that meet the criteria. What else is in here? We'll go through scattergrams when we start to look up a college. That one's important. Letters of recommendation will be requested here too. And then there's also the scholarships and money column.
So let's go back to that homepage real quick, Ms.
Yeah.
Montana, if we can. Yep. So to search for colleges, what you're going to do is you're going to type in the college name right there in the search bar. So anyone you want to do. The big R, there you go. So you're going to scroll on down. You're going to click on the hyperlink for whichever school of records you're looking at. So let's look at New Brunswick. Why not? So we click on that hyperlink. When we click on the hyperlink, what it takes us to is a page that looks like this. The overview will give you a brief snapshot of Rutgers, what it offers, the acceptance rate, graduation rate, deadlines, the average price. And if you scroll down a little bit more, get to know the college a little bit more. It gives you a little bit of a snapshot of where it is, how many students, student to faculty ratio, class size, what you can get for degrees. And again, it's just a little snapshot of basic information, but important information for when you're going through this application process.
Before we move on from here, I wanted to make a note about the graduation rate. If you look, you'll see that there's a toggle between 4-year and 6-year. It's becoming less and less common for students to graduate in 4 years. So if you want to look at the statistics for the schools that they're interested in, this is a good one. So 59% will graduate from Rutgers, New Brunswick in 4 years. If we go to 6 years, that rate is now up to 80%. So in general, I think the lower that percentage is, you're going to want to be prepared that your student might have to work a little bit harder. They might need to know that going in, that it might be a little bit of an uphill climb. They might need to do some different things to stay on track to be done in 4 years.
Let's go over to the admissions tab, or you can go studies, whichever one. Yeah. So in the admissions tab, what this will show you again is the next deadline. So for Rutgers, the next deadline is October 1st. It will show you the application fee. When your student does visit the campus or does visit a college rep at our school, sometimes they give out waiver fees. That's why it's so important for your student to go to the top 10 or top 15 schools that visits at our school and outside of school. For juniors, rising seniors, you get 3 excused absences for official visits on college. When you're in school, you get up to 10 excused from classes for in-school college visits. Let me reiterate that. 3 on campus that are excused, you must bring documented proof that you were on campus and on a tour and there with them. And then 10 in-school excused from classes for any college that's visiting Wayne Valley. If we scroll down a little bit, you'll see a bar graph. On the bar graph, again, it'll show you how many students have applied in the last probably 10 to 15 years, how many have been accepted, and how many have enrolled. This is a good tool to see how many students actually apply and how much Rutgers will take from Wayne Valley each year. If we scroll down just a little bit more, you will find a scattergram with a lot of check marks, a lot of X's, and a lot of circles. All right. The scattergram will help you navigate where your child is with GPA and SAT from students that were accepted, waitlisted, and denied. This is an awesome tool to use with your child to see where they fall in the application process. Every year, each school has a different pool of kids with different GPAs and different SAT scores. So nothing is guaranteed from this scattergram, but it helps give a little bit of a better picture about how to apply. If you look at the scattergram, there's a check mark that's on the bottom left. That student got in on that year. And you can look at all the way to the top right and see how high the GPA has risen for each student that's been accepted. This is a tool that we like to use with your students or with our students when they come down and visit with us and when they're asking colleges about questions or asking about college questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are not taking the SAT or you're taking the ACT instead, you can use this drop down menu at the top to adjust the test type. But when we talk about the different categories, like the target schools, the safety schools, the reach schools, this is a really, really helpful tool to start figuring out which schools should be in which category. I'm not sure if you were able to see before the key at the bottom, it'll give you like a little blue person in the legend. That's you. That's where your scores are, your GPA is. So if you're looking up here, Rutgers is a pretty crowded field. It'll be easier to see for some other schools when you really get in here and start looking around. But if your little blue dot falls kind of right in the middle of a sea of green, that's probably right on target for you. If your blue person is coming up in, the mix of the red or solely in the red, that might be something that we would categorize as a reach school. So this is a really helpful way to sort of visualize where you might stand going into the process.
And then finally, you can go to cost if you like to. The cost will break down again for annual tuition for in-state and out-of-state. So you can toggle between the two of those. It'll show you the annual room and board. It'll show you the net price for family incomes. Again, you could drop down that drop-down menu for 0 to 30. I think it goes up to, over 110K. So you can kind of figure out where the cost is for all of this. So this is where, again, Naviance is a great tool to help kind of slim down what schools are the right fit for your student. When you scroll down more, it shows you again a snapshot about the annual price, the tuition fees, some more bar graphs, room and board, tuition per credit hour, all the good stuff that Naviance can give you for information when you're going through this process with your student. If you go to the top, Miss Montana, real quick, just scroll to the top. So an easy way to add this school to colleges that you're thinking about, if you click on that little heart that's right next to Rutgers University, New Brunswick, it should turn red. And now it's on your list. To find this list, you drop down colleges, you go to colleges I'm thinking about, and Rutgers University is there. There is on this little snapshot a delivery type. So if you see a computer with no CA inside of it, that means you have to apply directly to the school. For Rutgers, New Brunswick, they are self-reporting, and you have to submit your application right to the school, right to the institution.
Yeah, we did hear some rumors this school year that might be changing. They are looking to pursue participation in the Common App, but the rep that I spoke to was not sure if that was going to be current for next year. So for next year's seniors, there's still a decent chance that you're going to have to apply separately to Rutgers. Anything else in Naviance, Mr. I?
I think that's about it. You got anything else you want to add to Naviance?
I don't think so.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll open the floor for a little Q&A. If anyone has any questions, just raise their hand. I am new to this, so Mr. Wisniewski gave me power to host. So I'm going to do my best on my crash course here. But we'll do about 10 to 15 minutes of questions and answers, and then kind of wrap it up after that. All right, let's see if I remember how to do this now. All right. And I'm sorry if I botch names, but I'm going to assume is this Mr. or Mrs. Coloud?
Hi, yeah, hi. I have a question. The presentation that you guys were you had up for most of the time, is it available anywhere? Can we find it? Because it was really helpful.
So this is being recorded, and it will be posted on our counselor page through our website.
That's awesome. Thank you.
All right. Now, all right, I'm learning this as we go here.
It'll be a lot faster.
Yeah, we will learn this. All right, now we have Judy.
Did it work? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I thought when you were talking to us, you mentioned that in Naviance, there's an area where you'd see how to set up a resume. Is that, can you just Is there, like, what area would I have to go under to see that?
Yeah, Ms. Montaigne, you want to pull Naviance back up
Yeah,
real quick?
let's go back and look.
And again, the Naviance resume is not going to be like a perfect professional essay. It's kind of just like an overview about how to build that resume and what to put into that resume for your student.
Okay, so I guess my question is, so you're actually making a resume for your child like you would have as a business person. Is that correct? Is that
Not
the,
not necessarily. So that's
Exactly.
something where the students can come down to us and we can help them with like a professional kind of resume and build that resume. The Naviance ones can kind of give them a basic picture about how to set it up. But for the professional resume, that's something that we can help the student out with.
but now this resume is for the colleges, right? The one that I'm talking about, is it different or they're both the same entity? Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought the resume you guys were talking about that Naviance helps them with is a little different than when they're going out to get, a job.
Yeah, so I think for most of our high school students, they don't necessarily have as much experience as we would put on a typical resume if they were applying for a job. They will pick up some things during college and after. And I looked in Naviance. They changed it this year. So there's a spot to upload a resume, but I'm not seeing the resume building tool right now. So I'm going to look into that more when we're back in the office on Monday, and we'll try to share that out if we can find it. However, there are lots of templates online that are available through different universities. What we want to target is what's known as a high school resume. So it's really going to talk about honors that they've received, activities or clubs that they've participated in, maybe any leadership roles that they've had if they're president of the gardening club, or if they're really active in the Leo Club, maybe they've helped to set up fundraisers through a community organization. All of those are things that would go on that high school resume, because most of them don't really have as much work experience as you would include on a typical resume.
Okay, great. I do have another question. So we all have a Naviance account, like my daughter should have one, even though she's a sophomore going to be a junior.
Correct.
And I could get one too now also, if I email the counselor.
Yes, the parent
Okay.
account doesn't have quite the same access to manipulate things in Naviance, because really ideally the student would be taking the lead in the college process and going through and starting to add some information, but you can log in and you can see everything that's in there. So if you want to peek in and see, oh, like what colleges is my child looking at, you can see that list. When it comes to adding schools, I believe that parents do still have access to do that. So if there's schools that you want your child to consider, you can go in and add it to their list. But for the college document piece, that's something that you don't have access to.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Ms. Montana, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Can you? Okay, so I actually found the resume tab as we were talking. So if you
Yeah.
go to the About Me and hit the resume on top, this is, I guess, the new way they're doing it. And you hit the plus button right here. You can add all work for here for your student.
Oh,
So what I'll
okay,
do
great.
is I'll ask for, again, start date, name, end date, how many hours, what grades they participated in, and then hit add, and it gives it to the resume and it starts building it.
Oh, so it does go back to elementary school also? I mean, middle school?
It
I
can,
saw
yeah,
that
so
it
we'll go
said
back to
sixth.
sixth
Okay,
grade.
yeah, because she was in honors and, okay, great, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Alright.
much.
Of course. All right, so here we go. And then we're gonna go with this.
You got it. They're saying any awards.
Okay, now we are gonna allow, is this Miss Nisha or Mr. Nisha?
I think we should be able to hear you now.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. The question is, even though a lot of schools are making it optional for the SATs, when is it the right time to submit, and when is it the right time to say to not submit?
That will vary a
That
little
will
bit
vary
by school.
a little bit by school.
Go ahead.
All right. We'll try and get, thank you for
Okay.
muting. So at the college panel last week, it did depend on the school. I think for the most part, and again, this is part of the research process that you will undertake as a family. For the most part, schools are saying, if you think that the test is a good representation of your ability, you're happy with your score, you think it's the best that you could do, then submit it. The challenge is for most schools, once they see it, they can't unsee it. So you can't change your status from applying with score to applying test optional. The one college that we had, Hobart and William Smith colleges, I know that they do allow students the option to kind of be like, oops, I sent my score, but I really don't want you to consider it. They will take it back. They will unsee it. That is not the case with most schools. And I think if you take the test, maybe you take it twice, it's not working out, and you think it's not a good representation of what you're capable of, then the schools are saying, for the most part, do not submit.
Thank you once again. Appreciate it.
No
Thank you.
problem.
Thank you.
All right. And we have Mrs. Giamona.
Oh, very good. Close enough. How are you? I just have a question regarding the FAFSA part, the presentation. I just want to make sure I understand it. There was, on the screen, it said that the FAFSA was going to be delayed, but it said 24-25 school year. Was that a mistake, or so are we, because we would be applying right in December of 23, that's what it was referenced below it. I just want to make sure I have the timeline straight based on what was on the screen.
Yes, you're right. You are correct. We will edit that on our PowerPoint. So good catch.
Okay.
It will be.
That's the
it will be
lawyer in me, and
2024.
everything. So you were talking, I went, wait, this is I did the math in my brain, like, would it be 23-24 school year? You know, okay, so I just want to make sure that that's what's happening.
So you are applying for the following school year too. So that's
Right.
something to keep in mind, that in the next year's school year, you will be applying for the following fall. So generally we say as soon as the FAFSA opens, we don't know exactly when that will be in December, but as soon as it opens, you should go in, submit it as soon as possible, while the financial aid is still available, because it will be active for the following September.
Okay. And this may be a dumb question, but the Naviance, I don't know anything about it with respect to, I think you mentioned that our kids have already have a login or whatnot. Should I just approach my son? Is it something that was already discussed with him? Or are we getting an email, like a separate email to then set up an account, basically? Are we operating under their account, or is it something that we also have an account as a parent?
So each student gets one freshman year when they first come into Wayne Valley. We as counselors meet with them and make sure they know what Naviance is and how to sign into Naviance. At that point, we do invite parents as well for whichever emails on that list. If you do not have an email or do not have a Naviance login, just reach right out to your student's counselor, and what they can do is they can set it up. If there's deeper questions about how to navigate through it, have your student come down and talk with one of us, and we can show them a crash course, or even with you, if you want to do a parent meeting, come in and see how everything works. You will have access to it, but you'll only have certain things that you can do with it as opposed to your student. So you'll have access, you'll oversee everything, you'll do everything with your student. And even if you don't have a login, you can log in under your student's name and do everything from under their name as well. But he should have a login. If he does not remember the login, just simply have him email his counselor or stop down to guidance, and we can set him up right away.
Okay, thank you so much. This was really helpful. Thank you.
Of course. All right. And Miss Mencher.
Yes, hi. My question is, in your experience working with students as they apply to REACH and Target and safety schools, where do most students find themselves landing, and how does it relate to how happy they are, you know, in that school experience?
I think if you were asking this question 4 or 5 years ago, we'd have a different answer, or a more solid answer. With more schools going towards test optional, I've been finding with my students that it has become difficult to predict. Whereas before we used to sometimes be pretty certain, we would look at a list of schools and be like, yeah, that's right on track for that student. And 9 times out of 10, they'd be getting into those schools. That's not always happening anymore. And so sometimes we're seeing that students are disproportionately from what we would expect getting into their reach schools, or vice versa, that they're sometimes not even getting into the safeties. And we're like, how did they not get accepted there, but they got in to this other school? And as far as how happy they are once they're there, I think that will vary by student. If it's a situation where maybe they didn't get into any of their top choice schools and they're starting at a place that wasn't a top choice because it wasn't a great fit maybe from the beginning, that's why it didn't make the top of the list, but that's their starting point, they might be unhappy enough there after the first year that they might want to transfer. So I think that's part of why we're seeing the increase in that number too.
Yeah, kind of piggyback off that also. Again, it's depends on the pool of students that are applying. It depends on, what GPAs are looking at for the top GPA, low GPA, SAT scores, ACT scores, what program they're applying to. And again, as Ms. Montana said, I've only been in this field for 3 years. She's had much more experience than I have. But what I've seen for the last 3 years is it's kind of hot and cold, hot and cold. Obviously when a student gets into the reach school, they're over the moon. And the safety school, they're like, hey, I got something in the back pocket. And, I know I'm going to college next year. It might not be my first choice, but hey, I'm going to college. I can transfer into where I want to go next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And last, Mrs. Sandy.
Hi, I just have 2 really quick questions. One is, I already have a Naviance account because I have one son who's a senior that's going to college already, so I've already set that up. I have a second son that's in his junior year going into senior, and we're doing the same thing. Do I have to set up a separate Naviance account to connect with him?
No, your child's counselor can link them together. What
Wonderful.
usually happens is you'll try to log in for your younger child and it will tell you no, it won't work. But we can go in and link the 2 accounts together so that you have the same login information. And then once you're in, you can just toggle between them.
Great. So who does that automatically happen, or do I have to reach out to one of you,
No.
or?
It does not automatically happen. You should reach out to the counselor and they can go in and link it for you.
Great. Okay. And then the second one is just to just confirm. So we're not doing the Common App thing until after August 1st?
Yep. So if you want a head start on it, and what we told students, if they want to start a head start over the summer, start it August 2nd. Because anytime after August 2nd, everything will be saved. Again, prior to August 1st, everything will erase.
Okay, so we don't do that until, I'm sure my son is thrilled about that. So great. Thank you.
No problem.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right. If we have no more questions, we appreciate all of you for taking your time on a weekday to come out and see your presentation and discuss the future planning for your students as sophomores, juniors, or if there's some freshman parents in here. We do appreciate you taking your time to hear us talk and see our presentation. If you do have any other questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to your child's counselor. If you do not know who your child's counselor is, please reach out to Ms. Freeney or Ms. Crank or call the guidance department and we'll direct you to the right counselor for your child. Other than that, enjoy your long weekends and enjoy the gorgeous weather that we hopefully have for the long weekend.
Thanks, everybody.